Hello, my lovelies, and welcome to an episode of Jessie Does Things She's Not Sure She Can Do Well, but let's do it anyway because the fans asked for it. You guys have asked and asked and asked for a tree tutorial over and over again. You guys have commented and you guys have been amazing. So without further ado, let's just jump into the elusive, mysterious tree tutorial. Okay, guys, and the start of any good tree, of course, is a trunk. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna map out kind of how wide you want it or how big you want it. And in the beginning of this clip, I'm struggling a little bit because for some reason I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this in third person, or I don't know. It was a mistake. But all I'm doing right here is mapping out the trunk. So I started with 4 pieces and we're going to work our way up. You can make these short trees if you want, but I typically make my spruce trees pretty tall, about 15 blocks high, sometimes a little bit more, just depending on the area that I'm decorating. So here you see me struggling to give it a different shape. And what I tend to do is I don't make a straight up and down stick. A lot of people, when they do spruce trees, they make just like one tall like pillar for the trunk. I don't like the way it looks, so I don't do it. So instead what I do is I add a little bit of variation. I do some crooked limbs coming out. Okay, and now that we're in the proper point of view, so what I do is I go up again, I make it pretty tall, and then we go back and we erase those bits. So as you see, it's not exactly like straight from the side. I like to do mine typically like kitty corner. I just find that it looks a little better. So what we're gonna do is come down, figure out a little bit more of this trunk, see if we like the layout, which for now, sure, I'll probably come back after we have added the branches and everything to give it more variation and more of a polished look. And I don't like that. No. Okay, let's get rid of this. And there's a lot of that as well. I do typically do things and then tear them down and then put them back or whatever, just because the shape can always change. And here I think adding a 4th piece really brings it together. So I then, before adding the leaves, I add where I think that the branches should go, because I don't fill the entire tree with branches. I don't quite like the way that that looks when you just add branches everywhere. Some people do, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So if you would like, you can add more than the branches I am adding. I just typically only add 2 or 3 branches because I find that it just fills the shape a little bit more, and then I just fill in the tree. So you'll see as we go along that I will change the shape over and over again without the leaves, because the leaves I think are almost like a finishing touch. So I like to make sure that I like the shape before the leaves go on. And I'm pretty satisfied with this. So what I do typically is I go up a few on top, give it a weird shape because I don't want there to be just a single peak. And then we go down and create layers of the types of leaves. So for my spruce trees, I always use a mixture of spruce leaves and birch leaves. I find that those two complement each other really well, and it gives it a nice textured look without making it too difficult on yourself. So then what I do is I create the outside shape. So you can do as many as you want down. I typically, for a big tree, go in 4s. So I'll go down 3, go over 4, or down 3, go over 1, go down 4, something like that. I just like to make a nice triangular shape, and I do that on all 4 sides. So where we have built the sides on the side of the fence, I go down from there, create a shape that I think looks good, and I try to vary it up. So if I've done 3 down on the other side, I try to do maybe 2 down or 4 down, just so that the lines don't match up completely, because I don't want it to look like a sphere or a cone or anything like that. I want it to look organic, but also very shapely. So from here, I usually take a step back now that 2 sides are done to see if I like how that side looks. If I'm satisfied, I move on to the next corner, do the same thing, remembering to change up the lengths and the shape as I go and switch up the leaves. So I don't try to use the same one to line the sides of the tree. I do mix up the two, and I keep going down until I am comfortable with the length or the height of where the leaves start. So final side, go down, repeat the same process, find where I want it to start, do the layers. So let's do this real quick. All right. So now that we have that finished, what we're gonna do is, again, take a step back, look at the overall shape, and then connect the sides. So here's the part where I find it can get pretty difficult, because if you're not careful, you're just gonna have a ring around the side, and then you're not gonna have variation. So you need to make sure that when you're connecting the sides, you get as much variation as you can, meeting at the corners and giving it different heights, because a tree isn't gonna look flat on the bottom. And I find that it's fairly easy when you're trying to do it this way to get into a pattern. So if you can just kind of place willy-nilly, it really helps. I know that everything in Minecraft, when you have pretty builds, it's usually pretty standard. So there's like a formula of how you do it. With these trees, I find the less you think about it, the better they turn out. So over here, obviously, you just make sure that you start at different levels. So, you know, not making anything super like conform to one pattern. I really like it. Make sure that you cover the branches and then just add height variation. It looks weird right now, but I promise you by the end, we will have something that looks polished. And I think that's the thing, is when people are making trees, they tend to want it to look really polished straight away. And I find if you do that, you're just gonna mess yourself up. So like here, I just want to make sure that I'm adding different leaves, different places, different colors, because I don't want too much of the same leaf in the same area. As you look around this tree, we have a variation of height. And I think that that is so important, is you need that height variation. And the next step in this tree is obviously going to be filling in the leaves. And here is where you can just have a lot of fun with placing things in random places. And as long as it doesn't look like a straight up and down cone, you're gonna be fine. There's no right or wrong way to add in these leaves from here on out. What I typically do is try to go down from the top. As you're going down from the top, I just find it a little bit easier to control the shape of the tree. And I try to make sure that I'm making the different textures from the side. So here, I like to make a little bit of a pocket that stands out. So it goes in, it comes out, there's different depths inside the tree. And I think that that's important when making trees, because you don't want it to look really flat. So this side does not look flat. Now we'll come over to this side, and no 2 sides are going to look the same. You're going to fill them in however you want, really. But as long as it has those divots, it has those points where you can see that there's a different growth pattern. And I know it's Minecraft, things don't really grow, you're doing this yourself. But if it looks like, you know, one side is more full than the other, it makes it unique. It doesn't make it a Minecraft tree. And that's what you're doing with a custom tree. You want it to look very organic. And I know that in Truly Bedrock specifically, I make these trees look like they take a long time. And that's usually because I'm building them on stream and I like to chat. But really, realistically, you can make a ton of these trees in a short amount of time, and all of them look so different, which I find important and fascinating. And as you go around, it looks so textured, and that is the main point. So again, filling in from this side, adding them at different heights. See, in the last one I added it over there, so adding one higher up gives us a different texture and a different variation. I'm going to say the word texture 50 million times, but that's just what you do. For these specific trees, these spruce trees that I make, they're very, very textured. And no matter what I do, at different heights, different anything, that's the point that I'm trying to get. I'm trying to get a textured and polished look in a tree that could be in Minecraft. Like, you look at it and it goes, okay, yeah, that's a spruce tree, but it's nothing that could grow by itself. And that's what I like. I don't want it to be too crazy. I just want it to look really organic and really nice. So this side, I have added a few more pop outs, a few more variations in the size. So here's a good example of what to do. See how I had the starter line, but I didn't like the way that it looked. So you just fill it in. You keep adding. You can take away leaves. You can add as you go. And there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've finished this, well, okay, almost finished this side of it. So we're just gonna fill in this hole right here. And then we can take a look at how it looks as a whole. So right now, the shape is basically what I'm gonna leave it at. I really like how it looks, and now it's just a matter of like fine-tuning the tree at this point. So what we're going to do is we're going to fix this trunk. So right now the trunk is too thin. So adding some from the top is going to give it a little bit of thickness, but we're also going to go up from the bottom. Let's add some of these, give it more of a root look. Is there anything? Lanterns. Okay, so what I typically do with these trees is I like to add lanterns because I think it just adds to the overall design. And yeah, let's put one there. So I like how that base is looking now. It looks a lot more full and it looks more intentional. So let's put this back and let's start filling in this underside because you don't want to just leave it completely bare. And so what I typically do is cover parts of those and then go around in almost a circular motion and add leaves either on the sides or in the base of the tree by the trunk. And like I said, so here is where I'm gonna go around and add leaves where I think they need to go. So the shape of the tree can totally change once you add the leaves on the inside. So a lot of people, like, they don't want the trees to look super thick so they don't fill the inside. I am one of those people. I like it to be more sparse so you can kind of see through and it looks more airy, a little more natural. And so what I do is I just keep looking from the base. I go, all right, how does this look? It looks too bare to me. So we're gonna keep adding leaves. We're gonna keep adding until it starts looking a little more polished. Again, with the height variations, you don't want it to be a flat bottom. There's nothing worse than going up to a pretty custom tree from the outside and then looking under it and it's just flat across. I am guilty of doing those before in my day, but not anymore. You need that variation. And as you go from further back, it looks so much more natural and so much better. Like, you can see the different heights from there. But I'm not exactly happy with how the shape looks, so you do that again. And you just keep adding until it looks perfect. These trees, I will admit, are really easy to overwork. The great thing about these kind of trees is they can be really simple, but it's me, so they probably never will be. But see, already just adding those few leaves on the underside has really brought this together. And this side looking a little too sparse, but okay, I don't like this. Let's change the shape. And already so much better. So let's add some on this side, give this a little bit more oomph. And again, changing up the leaves so that we don't have too much of one type there. I think that that's actually really decent. I, for now, am happy with the shape of this tree. All right, so now for the arguably the easiest tree in Minecraft to do, the fence tree. So we're gonna go up probably 10. Yeah, I think that was 9 actually, but that works too. So what I do is I do the stick first, go up about 3 or 4 depending, and then I just go around with the fence and place little branches kind of sporadically in no real pattern, just so that I can get different shapes. I don't usually like things on the same level, so I typically do every other, and I think that that helps a lot. So then what you're gonna do is you're gonna go around and you're gonna put leaves surrounding each of the little branches or the fence posts. And I always will do one on either side and on top of the fence post because that's what I like. I don't always, however, put the leaves in the front of the fence because sometimes I like to see that little branch hanging out. But as you take a step back, you can see it kind of swirls down. So now the only thing left to do is fill in the tree. So I don't like to make it super full generally. I just kind of give it a nice shape, go down, and really just fill in to give it a little more volume, but really nothing super complicated. These trees are seriously so easy. They're hard to mess up. So you just go in, make sure that you're covering the majority of what would be the trunk of the fence trees, but leaving spaces, leaving gaps, there's nothing wrong with that. You just want to make sure that it doesn't look too crazy. Like here, that's a very weird shape to have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in, change the height variation, and that's all. Like seriously, these trees are super easy. So I'll go in and I will add some height here because it looks a little strange when you just have the top sticking out like that. But again, nothing wrong with that if that's how you want it. Just gotta come in here and let's see. Yeah, that looks pretty decent. And it's one of those things that you can just tweak as you go. There's really no like right or wrong thing to do with it. So yeah, that's what I like. I do typically add a lantern under the bottom branch just because I like the way it looks. But these trees are really good for filling in space. If you have a little city, if you have a rustic build, these types of trees can literally go everywhere. And I do them in different height variations. So that one was a 9. Let's make this one a 5. And you can do the same exact thing. So just go in, add a few little branches, nothing crazy, just, filling it in. So then go around again, adding the leaves and not really worrying about it. Like I said, these are super easy, super low maintenance. They don't cost a lot of resources. So if you don't want to make those gigantic spruce trees and you don't want that much time, but you really want to add something to just kind of make the area stand out, these are wonderful trees and you will see them in a lot of people's worlds because they're super easy to do and they're low maintenance. But yeah, so let's just fill this in real quick. And I think that's pretty much it. It's just, like I said, really nice, really easy. So what I will show you how to do now is how to make it look more natural, more in place. So doing a little decoration at the bottom of the trees. By far, the easiest way I find to decorate these trees is adding podzol at the bottom. Because the podzol, to me, it just kind of looks like fallen leaves. It's like that crushed leaf look that just makes it look natural. So I do this at the base of every single one of my trees. Typically what I'll do is you see the shadow that the leaves are creating. I will go around, punch out different areas in the dirt where you can see that shadow, and I just put in some podzol. So If you just add the podzol, it's not a terrible look. It does add something, but I also really like to add path blocks and leaves. So let's just go around, fill in some of this podzol to make it look a little bit more full. And then let's get out a spoon. There we go. And then add in some path blocks. It makes it look a lot more lived in and a lot, it gives it a lot of detail without doing too much. All of this stuff, not expensive, not very time consuming, and no real wrong way to do it. Like, you can add these things in any place that you want. You can make it super formal. Like, look, here's an X with a little bit of that. And it doesn't look bad. It looks just natural. It looks like something that you've put all this time into, and really, you haven't. You just have added a little bit of extra finesse, and it makes all the difference. And for me, these leaf blocks are amazing because it just adds that much more texture to the area, and it does a wonderful job. Oh, and for those of you who do not know, in Minecraft Bedrock Edition, you can put light sources under path blocks. So if you want hidden lighting, path blocks are an amazing way to light up an area without having obtuse lighting. So let's just fill in some of these leaves. And then I think we are done with this area. It adds so much to the area without taking an insane amount of resources or an insane amount of time, but yeah. All right, guys, and there you have it. The tree tutorial is finally here. It is done, and you know what? I hope that it has been a help to you guys. So without further ado, if you have liked this episode, if you like me, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button because it really does help out the channel. And of course, let me know in the comments below if you guys would like to see other types of trees. I specifically picked these two types of trees because they're the ones that I've been asked about, but let me know if you would like to see more. But alas, if you would like to keep up with me, I do have my other links in the description below. I have my Patreon link, I have my Discord link, and my Twitter, and I am active on all of those platforms. So without more ado, I would like to say thank you so much for stopping by, guys. Like I said, I hope that this has helped you out because you guys have been genuinely interested in a tutorial, and I will see you in the next episode of whatever it is that's on this channel. Bye, guys.
Catch your breath and you sleep now.